We have another one coming up that we're going to go over, and I'm very excited to jump into this one as well because we've got Miko playing Master Yi, going X and 1 currently, versus Osvilito on Darius, which I don't think we've seen all day at all.
Yeah, I mean, I love Darius. I think he's one of my favorite Set 1 legends. The legends that give you access to more resources for free, we have a battle of those here. Master Yi, free stats and play. Darius, free energy to play more cards. Darius typically being like a baited hook deck, trying to cheat out extra units and accrue value. That's the type of thing that is pretty strong against Master Yi, but also Master Yi has some big old monsters in there.
So Darius does a very similar thing, similar than Kaisa. But why do less people play Darius, do you think? Is it because power is so strong? But I also feel like just extra resources when other decks don't necessarily have access to them is just strong as well. So why do you think the discrepancy specifically there?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the answers are the Darius deck tends to be weaker to big holding decks. You know, you don't have access to Thousand-Tailed Watcher. That is a really powerful mind card that the Kaisei decks get to play. Darius doesn't have that. You have to break through those more with some raw might. You have access to things like Hidden Blade, but against something like Master Yi, that can get defied. So if Master Yi is able to build that board and create a big hold at one of these locations, Darius can struggle breaking through that once you really get set up.
Absolutely, makes sense to me. And so, catching up a little bit, we've got the Hallowed Tomb coming through for Miko's battlefield, as then the Trifarian War Camp coming on the side for Osvilito on Darius. And very early turns, of course, we played a 2-drop for Master Yi going first. Makes sense, going into that Hallowed Tomb on turn 2. And on turn 1 for Osvilito, we played that Faithful Manufacturer, giving us 2 units for the price of 1.
Yeah, I mean, Darius is a deck that's really good at playing 2 units when being second. I think Faithful Manufacturer is a fine play going second, but you're really much happier to play 2 of the good 2-drops. You know, a Daring Poro and something like a Pouty Poro, or you know, the Legion units that really, really speak to what Darius is doing, a Noxus Hopeful plus any 2-drop. But you got to take what you can get, and we're still able to score a point here, even with the Faithful Manufacturer.
Yeah, still being able to keep up, and I think that what we're going to set the pace very quickly on when both or either of these players decide to contest the other battlefield, right? Because that's when the point discrepancies start to change. But instead, why not more units? More units to go around. Second Faithful Manufacturer.
This is a big commitment from Osvilito here, saying, I want this battlefield. I'm behind on points. It's usually tough to be the person really trying to hold when you're behind on points because you're going to lose that race. But 4 bodies in the Trifarian War Camp, that's a total of 10 might there already, which is a big number for the E deck to try and break through. That's an 8 plus a pump spell, and that's still not enough. War Camp makes it 11. Any more bodies in there, really tight.
Yeah, it's really the tale of 2 decks then, right? Because like you just said earlier, Darius struggles into the decks that want to hold. But we're kind of trying to do our own little mini set impersonation that we saw earlier today of like, well, if I just put a bunch of might onto somewhere, maybe you can't get through it. But we've seen that you can in the Master Yi deck.
Yeah, I mean, Miko has the ability as the game goes on to build up that hand of cards, do some really powerful stuff, Dead Bloom plus On Guard, plus Discipline, and make a big fight. Osvilito, though, has his own source of long-game longevity. If he is playing something like Baited Hooks in his deck, that is a level of card accruing and power putting into play that it can be really hard for Master Yi to keep up with if you didn't get a strong enough start.
Yeah. Especially when some of those units recur other units, right? They bring things back to continue and push that advantage while also still increasing your total might on the board. But I think the biggest thing that I love about when I play Darius is having access to that Darius Trifarian champion unit whenever you want. And the fact that your legend then also helps you play a second card every single turn, it's just like, it's the match made in heaven.
Yeah, I mean, you're seeing that right here, right? We have this Darius. We're going to play a second card. It's going to be a 7. Pit Rookie is going to be a 4 because of the Wuju Blade Master, but you would need 2 On Guards to be able to win that combat. Possible, but if this works, really strong for Osvilito.
Yeah, and here it comes. Yes, we've completely tapped out. We spent all of our runes for it, and again, not even having to use our legend ability at all for it. But the Kiana back in the base for Miko, I mean, it's going to be very hard to get that on Conquer effect even when you take out the Daring Poro here, because we have to then start spending some of those resources that we typically use on defensive tricks offensively instead.
I mean, they are offensive tricks, right?
Yeah.
You need to get that hold. You need to get that started. And Kiana is one of those units that's really worth it. Osvilito there did attack with the Daring Poro alongside the Darius, was a little bit worried about the double on guard, said I really don't want to get blown out here. I think I'm far enough ahead that I'm willing to just put my Daring Poro in the garbage just to make sure the worst possible case doesn't happen.
Good play, smart, it's safe. It's game one, right? You have to make the safe play game one, typically.
Well, I think you can be pretty confident what the Master Yi decks are going to be playing. You've seen Kiana, you've seen Pit Rookie. You're like, I know this isn't a Dazzling Aurora build. We're playing a normal game where they're going to play the big monsters later. And if you believe that you just are going to be favored there, you don't want to take those risks.
Buff coming in here, though, from the Pit Rookie, I think is going to make this exchange feel way better. Instead of, having to feel like you're using extra resources, giving this the buff to immediately match, and then one card makes the trade easily go into your favor. Even if there could have potentially been a trick, but there wasn't. We're going to easily get this on Conquer. And like you said, one on guard and still playing a unit that you're going to play anyway gets full value.
Yeah. On guard, I imagine Osvilito sees the first on guard and is like, okay, maybe I made a good play last turn. I knew you had one. What are the odds you have the second? But I get to feel some relief that I played around, at least knew I had one, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that always feels good, right? When, especially in a game like Riftbound, it is always thinking about what your opponent could have. What am I supposed to do? Playing around for the future turns. And you're right, made the right call. Maybe. Osvilito coming back. We're at 8 to play with here. And then awkward kind of maybe 9 because of the way that Darius works.
Definitely 9. Darius isn't a deck really playing cards that cost more than 5. So you can play any 5-drop and any 4-drop, and that's just how this is going to go. But moving into the war camp, again, a statement. We are blocking this battlefield. This is mine. And now Osvilito kind of gets to do that.
Yeah.
Last turn, he took that point lead, got into 4. And so if we do a hold battle that Miko can never break, Osvilito's going to win.
Yeah, and we still haven't even, again, used any of our resources. We're just moving units up that we had already played prior. And again, when you're delaying the Kiana just moved up, there's going to be a world where Miko makes that decision to bring the Kiana back home. But unless you find a way to completely clear off this Trifarian War Camp, you're not going to get another on Conquer effect. So you're not giving away a ton of resources right now. Wow. No play there. Passes turn back to Miko.
That is really interesting. The Darius deck is not really known for having a lot of actions and reactions to the opponent's turn. Quite a few cards in hand for Osvilito. Possibly things like Hidden Blades available. Not entirely sure what the plan is here.
Getting a total might calculation. Ask. Man, you're right. I'm trying to think. The big... I mean, we're playing on a lot of units, right? You can play Grand Stratagem defensively.
That would be pretty powerful here. If you think this is the turn, Miko's going to go for a Dead Bloom Predator, then that Grand Stratagem is going to be a huge blowout, or you have a certain philosophy. Your philosophy being, as long as I hold up Grand Stratagem, I can't lose.
Yeah.
If we fight these battlefields 1 for 1, back and forth, I will win this game.
Similar story here maybe with the White Flame, right? Going on the Pit Rookie, as this is going to be 10 might, 11 with the Trifarian, of course, and now this is going to answer the question. He has first focus, passes focused over. What do we have?
This has got to be a Grand Stratagem or a Hidden Blade.
Either, I think, are great, right? One of them more expensive than the other. And also, one of them can be defied, and there's still that one ready rune. But instead, we're going to lose everything?
Well, you'll get to keep one recruit, but wow, that is a massive deal. I am shocked. I'm so curious what Osvilito's hand is. Maybe there is a Grand Stratagem, but you just don't want to spend it on the Pit Rookie. And we're thinking, okay, I need these runes. I can play these big monsters. I see a Draven in his hand, and he's at 5 points. That's an 8-might Draven. And I think I did see a splash of that Grand Stratagem. Just wasn't ready to pull the trigger yet. Thinks he can get a little bit more from it.
That's such... It's such an interesting decision to make there, because when you're going to get... I guess, like you said, the biggest value for the Grand Stratagem right then and there, it makes sense, but are we ever going to get that many units back? Well, this is one way to get those units back onto the table, because we can easily grab our faithful manufacturers again as we play and go and get another recruit. So all of a sudden, you got all these units back.
Yeah, this Grand Stratagem's back to being good again. We still have 6 runes up. Are you going to go again? You going to run in with this White Flame Protector? Maybe this time. It's time to Grand Stratagem, take that thing out. even prepared against, White Flame Protector on a White Flame Protector isn't enough to break through.
Yeah, as we pass things back, and we are once again holding up the 6. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting because, yeah, the White Flame base 8 going to be able to move in and have 9 might total. But now instead of, Miko playing his hand, showing the White Flame, hey, this is what I'm doing for the turn, we get to keep all of our runes ready for potential tricks that might come in reciprocation now when this White Flame moves up.
Yeah, the White Flame going in here does look like we're going to play. There's the grand stratagem. Decide this is the time. I'm getting into kill at 8 might thing instead of use this to, your pit rookie was already dying last turn. Who cares? Now that means Osvilito maybe gets to use all their runes every turn and play some things like this big old Draven hiding out in the hand.
Yeah, and the hold point will help us make the Draven even stronger because we've successfully played a very powerful defensive trick, as most of these units, if not almost all, are going to stay alive, of course. But now, yeah, I mean, we could still see things like the Tasty Fatefolk, but the Grand Stratagem does last for the turn, so we are off limits on this battlefield.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of the power of Grand Stratagem. Not only can you use it when you need to take their battlefields, it really just says, you will not take my battlefields this turn. The amount of might it puts out in a single spell is pretty unparalleled in the game right now, and it's just, what can Miko do? Well, you just have plus 15 more might in that battlefield this turn. I guess you get to hold.
Yeah, and remember, we had to recycle 3 of our order runes to pay for that. It is actually impossible to do that again on the next turn, especially with our channel for the turn being only 1 more order rune. But we did end up trading. We played a Tasty Fatefolk at the Hollowed Tomb that we already had control of, and we moved Kiana back. Getting a better unit out there, keeping Kiana alive a little bit longer and safer.
Yeah, moving the Kiana back, interesting choice. It's a little bit smaller than the Tasty Fatefolk. You saying that you believe that the 1 might from the Fatefolk won't matter as much for conquering that battlefield, or you believe you need the 6 might at the Haunted Tomb to protect from some type of accelerate units. But if you're expecting things like Draven or Vayne, neither of those really conquer through, I'm sorry, not Draven, Darius or Vayne, neither of those really conquer through the Kiana or the Fatefolk anyway.
Yeah, and if we take this turn for Osvilito to just set up things like the Draven, getting it on the board or something like of the sort, it doesn't necessarily give you the win now, but continuing to overload the Trifarian War Camp. We're at 6 points, of course, because of that hold that we had earlier. Draven approaching 9 might now, 10 with the battlefield. That all on its own is enough to trade with 1 of Miko's gigantic units.
Yeah, Miko looking for some type of combination of a big unit, maybe playing, a Dead Bloom Predator to the base so that you can get it with a White Flame Protector on the next turn with a couple pump spells and really causing one huge fight. Likely going to be stronger here, but at 6 points, you don't have a lot of time to set that type of thing up.
I almost for a second thought Miko passed turn, but we were just getting a might calculation on what's going on at the Trifarian War Camp. Of course, we still have access to. My favorite part about the Yi deck is when you decide to play the Honed Yi champion unit, because, again, it comes in ready. It very much functions as an extra attacker, but it does cost a lot to get onto the board, so there's not a lot of follow-up necessarily for it. Or you just play it early and set up, like you said. We could just maybe concede the 7th point over to Osvilito, and maybe you just hope there's not a trick to get this Fatefolk off the board.
Well, one of the great things about Master Yi is it does have ganking.
Yeah.
So you have the opportunity to move this Fatefolk back to your base, play your Master Yi to that battlefield, and still be able to threaten all of your might moving into the war camp in the same turn, which I think is what Miko's going to need to do to break through this. You assume Osvilito in the next turn, going to play some more stuff to this war camp, try and really pile this on. And so this is a situation of, I really don't want to keep any of my units locked in this Haunted Tomb. I need every bit of power I can have. I saw Miko had like a Dead Bloom Predator, an On Guard, little bit of numbers there, really calculating all the things going on. But, we have a Draven that is +6 from the points, so that's a 9, 1 from the War Camps at 10, 5 from the Spectrumation, and 2 from each of these recruits. That's a clean 19 points in there right now, and that's a hard number to get through.
But we've seen it before.
We have seen it before. I mean, we watched Master Yi last round, I think, just break through this type of thing, and I would not be shocked if we saw it again. Here
it is, the first step. Master Yi Honed has entered the base, And we do have a few extra runes. We're going to play a Stalwart Poro as well. This will help us do that same game plan of posturing all of our might the next turn, even including giving a buff to this Master Yi. Going to be spending almost all of our runes, only one left. Still able to use something like an On Guard or a Defy if we need so. But instead of that, it's just going to be holding it back and keeping the Tasty Fatefolk there.
Choosing to leave the Fatefolk there, the Master Yi is larger. And it's better at defending through Darius or, you know, accelerated units. And I think missing out on that 6 might, maybe Miko's done the math and knows there's enough, but it feels to me like this could come back to bite them.
We'll find out very quickly as a Darius Trifarian hits the board once again for 5, and we have 3, and also we have 4, basically, to essentially go and figure out what we're going to do with it.
A cleave here would be really good, puts you up to 10. That's what we have here. The Fatefolk's only an 8. If we have an On Guard, that's a trade. Or if we have a Defy, maybe we have to do that to this cleave so we don't just get killed by this Darius.
Looks like you're right. Here comes Defy. It does still count as playing the card, though, so we will still get the +2 in the ready.
Yeah, this is way better for you than getting to use the On Guard, because you really need to save that On Guard for this next big combat. No, it doesn't count as played. Played as win cards are finished, resolving, but it's not that hard for Darius to play another thing here. Ready it now.
Yeah, as we load up once again, and the Legion still is live, of course, so it's going to get a buff when it comes in.
But now we only have 1 energy left. If we had another cleave, it'd be good enough, but we can't run into this Fatefolk.
So just move it up to reinforce, I suppose. I guess is the once again presenting just more might, and that seems to be the play because the Defy was good enough to stop that cleave through, like you said.
Yeah, this is the only thing we can do. Make this big pile. If Miko can't break through this, it's really close. I think there's a Dead Bloom Predator. That gets to do 9 damage, which gets to cut through a couple of the things, but not all of them. And then you have to hope the rest of your board can make it. The Draven got another point. Now it's an 11. Massive.
This is it. This is it. We've led to this moment on figuring out how to answer the puzzle. Is the Tasty Fatefolk not bringing it back and leaving up the ganking unit instead? What was the correct decision? And we're going to find out right here as we are calculating all the might across the board. I'll leave it to the players, of course. Don't know. There's 2 recruits.
We have 2 recruits. This Legion unit that has the buff on it. So that's a 4. Both recruits are 2s. That's 8. Darius is an 11. That's a 19. Matron's 5 more. 24. 30 exactly with the Darius. That's good for easy math for Miko's side. Nice round numbers.
It is, yeah. I did it alongside you, but I was not as quick. I'm glad you said it out loud for me. But yeah, so 30 we have to get through. White Flames, of course, help us do that. But it does cost 8 of our 12 runes that we have to do so.
So on this board, we have the Kiana. That's a 5 +1 because War Camp. So everything's going to be +1 in this fight. So we have a 6. Master Yi is a 7 +1, 8. 14. 3 from the Poro. 17. 3 from the Pit Rookie. 20.
So we need 10.
We need 10 more. So
11 to beat it.
11 to beat it. So we're making this type of play. We have the Dead Bloom Predator in our hand. That's 9. A single +2 if the numbers work out here. The main thing is, does this fight allow you to kill exactly the things you want? We think this is 20, so you can kill everything but the Draven?
Draven is at 11. So, yeah. Right, 3 + 7 + the 1 from Trifarian. Yeah, it looks like that might be the case, but Draven is the one we need to kill, right? But the more units that are also at the battlefield means there's more might coming from Trifarian. So it really is kind of boiling down to where this damage assignment, and this is up to the players. Like these are choices you actively make in the game, and you must feel like you have to make the correct choices.
Yeah. We chose to kill the Draven. We left the Spectrum Nation and the 2 recruits. That leaves 9 might of the battlefield. That's a better spread, which means a Dead Bloom Predator ties. A single On Guard, which I see in Miko's hand, is going to be enough here.
Yeah.
Look at that movement. That is someone who knows they've won the game.
Yeah, that is a game-winning, slam it on the table, show our opponent. But like you said, because this is 8 runes, we still have 4 to play with, which means all of these tricks that this deck does play to get things around. It's easily showing a game 1 going over for Miko on Master Yi. And it ended up in the same result that we kind of saw earlier today.
We keep saying this play out in the same way for these Master Yi decks against Set, against Darius. Hold fights.
Yeah.
Master Yi gets 1, opponent gets 1. Opponent plays a bunch of stuff to the one battlefield. They think they can steal ahead and get 1 point and win the whole race. But the Master Yi deck does just have so large of units and combat tricks. They get to make a big fight happen at the end at their terms.
So, Aaron, help me understand then. What do I need to do as a set player, and what does Osvilito need to do in game 2 to change that story that we've seen happen so many times now?
So one of the things that happened in that game, Osvilito went second, was not able to conquer both the battlefields early, played a Faithful Manufacturer instead of 2 of the stronger units, let that pit rookie get in, lost the game by that point. Similarly, didn't have any spells other than that Grand Stratagem. Maybe could have saved that a little longer, would have lost the battlefield. That's a tough call to make, something maybe thinking about again, but also bring in more stuff like Hidden Blades, more of that removal, answers to these big things. That's what you need to do, because you'll always boil down to the same big fight if you don't win the really aggressive games. You have 2 lines of choice. Am I going to try and really quickly blitz them down, never let Yi take control of the battlefields, never get a lot of value out of that Wuju Blade Master Legend? Or am I setting up to be bit of the control deck, play that hold game, and have the removal spell at the perfect time? Either path works.
Yeah.
If you have the right cards, splitting battles, losing one fight and trying to do both is the type of thing that may end you up in trouble.
I don't know what their credits is. I'm glad you know, and I'm glad the insight here, because I'm watching these and I go, I'm gonna go home and I'm not gonna be able to do it right. And with all the Master Yi that we're showcasing so far, making a good stretch to potentially end up in our day 2 on our top 64, because we've seen 2 excellent Master Yi decks so far, and this match isn't even over. We have more to see, of course, but it makes me want to go home and figure out what I'm going to do, because I feel like more people might be playing Yi after this event as well.
Yeah, there are a lot of options you can do. One more thing. Did not see a beta took that game. I don't know if that means there are none in the Darius deck, or we just didn't happen to find it. We did see Spectral Matron. That's a unit that almost certainly says we're going to be playing beta took. It's such a powerful hit off of that. So that's another card, a factor that we didn't see in the first game that we might get to see out of Osvilito this game.
Well, speaking of the next game, we've got game 2 coming up right here for y'all, so don't go anywhere. I'm all about just mass amounts of gameplay. I love this game so much. I want to see more and more of it, so I want to see Osvilito take us to a game 3 when he's going first, and we've got Arena's Greatest, speed up that game by 1 more point that you were talking about. That's a path to victory, and then Vile Ma's Lair coming out on the side for Miko, which, I mean, if we see the same game plan that Osvilito went for in game 1, Vile Ma's Lair maybe not really going to do anything.
Yeah, I mean, we had a similar situation with a Victor player earlier today where, yeah, I have a bunch of random recruits. I don't need them to sit in the Vile Ma's Lair. I don't care. You can kill them. Definitely looks like the type of game where Osvilito is going to be aggressive, but didn't play a card on the first turn.
No 2-drop.
Has Hidden Blade in hand, though. Looks like maybe leaning into more of that little bit of a controlling game.
But on the other side, going second for Miko, we did play a unit. We're going to be able to get the first point, actually the second point, because of Arena's Greatest, and that's huge, at least when you're going second, and a Master Yi deck.
This is really painful for Osvilito. Played a 3-drop on turn 2 as Darius, didn't play a 2 on turn 1, and didn't get to use the Darius or the Ready Order rune. Wasted 4 energy by turn 2 in a matchup where you getting those early points and not letting your opponent hold the battlefield is pretty important.
And then it makes these Find Your Centers feel even more devastating, because your opponent already started the game with the extra room, because of the game, of course, getting a second one and still replacing itself. So all of a sudden, it feels like the energy spent discrepancy is only going to grow.
Osvilito does have an opportunity here. No units in the base for Miko. Deadbloom Predator looks geared up to come in, or a Tasty Faith Oak. But Osvilito could go ahead and play this Darius and maybe play a cheap thing and get into this battlefield with the Poro and kick Miko out. But you got to be assuming you just found your center. You probably got a big play coming up.
6 essentially to play with because of our legend. It helps, even when you go first, or I'm sorry, 6 on the board, plus we have 7 to play with, which means it makes these Darius plays and not necessarily needing cleave, but can be followed up by like a Noxus Hopeful feel a little bit better in this legend, of course, and then still get access to the Darius, just like you said. And I'm wondering if that might be the play here. Well, my interesting too, because I do like this interaction, and I want to ask you about it, is when it comes, because we saw the Hidden Blade, when it comes to hiding cards versus the Legion interaction, right? Because hiding them is not playing the card.
Right.
So it doesn't count as playing something first, but when you do flip it over, and you use it at reaction speed, it is playing the card.
Right. I think that mostly matters on the opponent's turns for Darius. Helps you play those 2 spells when you're needing to defend. That's one of those things that when you get into that big fight at the end of the game, you can actually kind of trick the Darius into being +2. Talking about Noxus Hopeful here, I would really doubt Osvilito has it. If he did, he would have played it last turn. He had that 2 energy and played a thing, which is maybe even making, maybe he has a great 5-drop this turn, but even if you do that, you're burning those 2 runes again. I see a Draven in hand there, maybe not a follow-up. Yeah. Not really strong. You only have 2 points. Maybe you play Darius, but you don't have another spell. You're really trying to scrap through the next couple turns. If you can't play 2 cards this turn, how do you make sure you're playing 2 cards every other turn? Because you're going to need it.
This is a good one. One of the advantages of Darius the Legend is that he has the Fury Domain. And Falling Stars, we know, is a very popular card and very powerful against, Master Yi, who only gets that bonus power when you're in combat, like you said. And so, great removal, but it is pretty expensive for this deck.
Right. Falling Star to single Stalwart Poro.
Yeah.
That can't be why we have Falling Star in our deck. We were hoping for way better, but it looks like we had a Vanguard Captain. We needed to trigger Legion. And also, we took both these battlefields. We're trying to get these points. We're trying to make these plays. And I can believe Osvilito's just like, I'm willing to give up the runes now. I need to get stuff going because I certainly haven't gotten anything going yet.
I obviously don't know the rune layout and for this deck, but now I just think we're in a scary position because if we don't channel another Fury rune, we can't play Darius if we want to.
Yeah.
That's scary.
That is scary. You only need 1. There is this Master E that you knew was probably going to come in. Makes Darius have a lot more work. You really would be happy to do that. I imagine we're playing quite a few Order Runes because we're playing Grand Stratagem.
Yeah, and even when I see the Vanguard Captain, right, for these units that require these power costs, we did get at least the 1, so I'm not really worried anymore, but it was just a scary thought for a moment that I at least wanted to bring up. But now the Master Yi honed, of course, it moves in immediately on the Vile Maw's Lair, and it's not necessarily stuck there because Vile Maw's Lair still lets you use ganking. Just can't bring it home to base, but we have to deal with this 8 might in total, basically, to deal with, but still 1 ready rune on the other side.
Yeah, so that can be an on guard, that can be a defy. I think we have a cleave, and we're going to Darius and try and cleave. If this doesn't get defied, I think we have a really good combat here for Osvilito. If it does get defied, Miko's going to get to keep this Vile Maw's Lair, but that Master Yi is trapped there. Once again, it feels like we're watching a game where the Vile Maw's Lair has been worse for the Master Yi player than for the opponent. Had that happen in a match earlier today with the Kiana getting stuck.
The cleave does resolve, so we have this massive 10 might Darius, as long as that was the chosen target, which I imagine it was. And so now it being able to trade at least with this Master Yi, even if it isn't on guard, because it obviously wasn't the defy if that was the play.
Yeah, so even if you have the on guard here, it's not that bad. You send in a recruit, you get the point, and once again, Miko's without a board.
And the points adding up for Osvilito, and this is the path to victory again. Remember, not necessarily loading it all up on 1. Instead, it is about spreading it out, getting as many points as possible, and of course, the Arena's Greatest helped us get there. This might be that game of margins that we thought it was going to be in Game 1, but that 1 extra point being the reason why Osvilito could take this game to victory.
This is going to be a big turn for Miko. Really important to have one of those big haste units. I think I see a Dead Bloom Predator there. Really important to have that because you can't just leave the Darius there or leave these battlefields, because once Osvilito is able to get to that 7 the next turn, that would be a really tough place to come back from.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think the decision that Miko's going to make, and we're going to find out very quickly, is that what we're going to do with our turn? Because that's essentially all we're going to do with our turn. But it's a very powerful play, and it's why Dead Bloom is in almost all of these body decks that we see.
If you're Osvilito, you also know, Dead Bloom Predator cost 8. We're only going to leave up 1 rune from Miko. And last turn didn't have a Defier and on guard. Yep. What are the odds there's one this turn?
Or held it very patiently. Kiana coming down, though, instead. Pit Rookie going to send it a buff as well. This, of course, is not using the Dead Bloom turn, but we are going to be able to keep some of these runes up unless we play more cards. But just reestablishing a board state to figure out what we're going to do with it. 3 more to play with. It might just be used for defense, but there's nothing to defend.
A first mate here would be pretty decent. It would at least allow you to trade the Kiana for the Darius. That doesn't stop you from scoring, so maybe you would just move Kiana to the other battlefield.
Clockwork Keeper coming in for 2, and it looks like no additional cost paid here. Don't want to draw a card, we just want units.
This is a really interesting decision, because I'm really confident I see this Dead Bloom Predator in Miko's hand. Did not want to put that in the battlefield, despite having the 2 Might runes to play it. Saying, hey, I need bodies in play this turn. So next turn, I can really respond to whatever you do. Osvilito, I expect just to run a little recruit in and back up and build up that base. Can't run away. That's a Vile Maw's lair.
True. And we figured it out. Oh, right. Can't do that. So it is stuck there, and that means a lot, right? Because that is the highest might unit that Osvilito basically plays right here. And it also has the ability to gain even more might. And I think that means we are going to have to go for this, not just going up to 7 points here for Osvilito, but we can't, I don't think we can do the load up one battlefield again. I think we have to figure out how we're going to distribute this, get resources out of Miko, and then do a double conquer play?
Yeah, well, we know Osvilito has Grand Stratagem in their deck.
Yeah.
That is the ultimate double conquer buster card that exists. So if Osvilito has one of those in the hand, obviously has the Order Runes, has quite a few bodies in play, gets to deploy more this turn, pretty big Drave in there. Grand Stratagem might be a card Miko can't beat unless boarding in something like Windwall, but I'm not sure that's a card you can reasonably board in against a deck like Darius.
Let's say you play Windwall on the board, do you bring it in if the only real spell that you're trying to use without Defy, it's because it doesn't work, is Grand Stratagem? Is that one worth the Windwall?
I can believe it's something you're maybe interested in when you're on the play, but when you're going second and you get that extra rune, you're under the gun really quick. If your opening hand has this Windwall, you won't be able to play it for a long time. It costs 2 power to play. You really just need to play your things, and it's really hard to both play a large unit and hold up the Windwall in the same turn when you're already having the forced maneuvers of playing those into these battlefields. I could see having some in the third game if we get there.
That sounds perfectly reasonable to me. Kiana's going to come in here. I like the idea. Obviously, send this in, get rid of this recruit, and we have the on-conquer effect that I'm going to assume is draw a card. We need to figure out what our answers is because our opponent is at 7. Now is when we need to figure out what does the game look like in this current stand.
Yeah, so if we do Dead Bloom prior to this Darius, there's a lot of might at that base. We don't have a lot of runes left. Even with some tricks, I'm not sure this is enough on the board.
Yeah, not if it's a Grand Stratagem, like you said. And so this could be this was a path to success for Osvilito if that ends up being the case. But I'm not going to sell it out yet. Keeping the 2 up, discipline is enough for maybe something. But when I'm staring at that Draven on the other side, at its most might it can have, at least in 1v1, that's a lot to mess with.
Yeah, you have a really great option here, Osvilito. You're in the spot of, okay, I can try and win both. Or, even if I can't win both, well, this one definitely wins both.
Yeah.
You don't have to think about all the fancy things. But what I was saying is you were going to be able to choose to fight the Kiana with the Draven and then just pile in one and force the beat to the hold, or you can just win the game.
And that was exactly it. I'm so glad we got to it. Osvilito pulling it out for game 2. The Grand Stratagem double conquer was available if we needed it, but at the end of the day, we played our resources a little bit better. We didn't load everything up to one battlefield, and I really think that was the key here.
I really want to go back to the early turns of that game. Osvilito did not make a play on turn 1.
Yeah.
Osvilito's turn 2 play with 4 runes and the Darius was a faithful manufactor, wasting 2 more energy. In the first 2 turns, wasted 4 energy. A lot of games, that's like a death sentence.
Yeah.
When you're playing Darius, you're really aggressive, you really want to get these things out, but able to find the path that game to beat up on Miko, kind of not really playing to the board super quickly, not having a Kiana early, not having the resources to play all of those cards in hand. I saw Miko lose with a bunch of White Flame Protectors still in the wings, never got a chance to be deployed.
I mean, that means we've got a real series here, right? We've got a real match where Game 3 is going to decide all of it, and we've seen a path for Osvilito to win. It's going to still be difficult.
Yep.
We're going to see Miko be able to go first. We're on our 3rd battlefield. The Vile Maws could have just been a throwaway battlefield for Miko, and we're really going to see a lot more of this potential of this deck come through. We know that the E deck can do it. It is, I think, entirely dependent on how the Darius deck approaches the game, what the trick is in Game 3 perhaps, or do we maybe follow the same path this game, even with a bad curve like you said that we did, and we not wasted, that's the wrong way to say it, but like we didn't necessarily use all of our energy efficiently.
Right. Instead of being able to play those cheap cards, you had really powerful cards in your hand.
Yeah.
You had Grand Stratagem, you had Draven, you had all these things that ended up being more important, and you were able to capitalize that.
Absolutely. Well, Game 3's on our way, and I'm diving in, ready to go for it. I hope you all are at home, and I'm excited to see these battlefields once again and see how this game is going to shift for this final bout here. In round 6, we've got the Grove of the God Willow, which is going to be a very contested battlefield this game, I can imagine, and a Zon Warrens for the Darius deck. Going to be able to hopefully find some more of those powerful cards when we do need them.
Yeah, I mean, if your plan is about things like Grand Stratagem, Zon Warren's really good at helping you find them. Darius normally not too good at drawing cards.
Yeah, definitely not. So, but if it can, man, I was just about to say, if we load up a bunch of units to the God Willow and we hold it forever, we maybe find a path, but we know that's how we lost game 1. So maybe that's Miko kind of laying the trap.
Miko wants this Grove of the God Willow. Maybe this Clockwork Keeper, buffing it with the pick rookie, having 2 energy up to play a pump spell of some kind. It'd be really hard for Osvilito to take that battlefield here in a reasonable way. Does have 6 energy because of Darius. Could play a Draven, could play a Cleave. That's a really good way to break through.
That means Miko must have the Defy, basically, to answer it.
I think I see the Cleave right there in Osvilito's hand. A lot to think about here.
Yeah, I mean, that to me very much sums up to what did these players hold for their mulligans? Because if you make a play like this and you proceed the game in this current capacity, what is the decision that you made during the mulligan phase? Did Miko just hold the Defy? Did Osvilito go, hey, this is what my deck is really good at doing when going on the second turn, going second, because we have exactly this to this powerful 10 might swing play.
Gets the rookie in, a simple choice to kind of do early. You get a lot of information here. Pitching a Spectral Matron really sets you up to like, now I know what's going on. I have as much information as possible. Now do I want to do this Darius? Do I want to do this Cleave? No. Setting up.
Yeah, I'm not going to fall for the, I think I get blown out by a Defy, not being able to take over. We're going to give away 1 hold, of course, for this God Willow, which means we're going to get the draw away as well. And, of course, on the play here for Miko, we are up on the points, and you're just trying to play a little bit of catch-up for Osvilito, and that Recruit is going to easily die here, even from this Pit Rookie. So Miko easily going to 3 points, I think, this turn.
Miko in a situation where, you know, you have this Clockwork Keeper, and you are defending that battlefield pretty well, even against the stuff in play. It is how much do the points matter to you versus playing the long game and really blocking off these locations. In getting this Find Your Center, putting up to 7 means in the following turn you can play a big 8 with an On Guard or with a Defy, and that's really important.
And that's, I think, we've seen Miko do for the bread and butter, and honestly what the E deck does in general, right? You don't have to keep up too much because, you know, things like On Guard don't cost a lot, and even Discipline for only 2. But we saw 2 different turns, right? We saw 1 turn from Osvilito. I need to build up more units, not just commit to this full all-in Darius decision. But on the other side for Miko, I'm going to play a little bit more setup, specifically in the rune advantage and hand drawing, less on the units in play.
Looks like a little conversation maybe about missed Zon Warren's triggers, but that's a thing you can miss if you forget about it. Yep. No harm, no foul.
I think sometimes I like the cards in my hand and I don't want to use it.
Okay, well, if you do that, we would like you to be out of the tournament. Please don't do that, Barrett.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, you're right. All right, so yeah, we're going to have to figure out what's going on and give them some more time to figure that out. But we still got... Is this currently the correct trajectory for Osvilito to maybe potentially win this Game 3? Or do you think it is going to purely come down to these players playing around each other like perfectly? Because like if we held on to the Grand Stratagem, we are setting ourselves up. We need all these units to really get full value out of it. And currently on the state of Miko, as we are in the setup phase still of this game, when do the big units hit the board, and which ones are going to be the reason Miko wins versus Osvilito taking over?
I mean, Miko is up by 2 points here.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of important value in, can Osvilito take both of those away this turn, get up to 3? Not the magic number. You really want those even numbers. So you definitely need to take one of them. You have a pretty good battlefield. You have 9 might of your own. You can definitely force your way in somewhere. And if you're doing that, it seems like Osvilito's plan, probably similar to Game 2, get ahead, set up, and have a grand stratagem and be ready to conquer and take those last 2 things.
We did end up getting the Zon Warren's prog. We ended up pitching a first mate from our hand, so Miko is going to end up drawing a card. They rolled a die for it. Don't know what that means, but ends up, and that's going to be the turn for Miko as we pass back to Osvilito. And
It's very interesting because a first mate might have been a card Miko really wanted to play there. 3 runes left over, some units at battlefields that you maybe wanted to back out. Not entirely sure. I could see a world where you first mate into the Zonmorns and then take the Pit Rookie out to just have a slightly larger body there.
Yeah, I think that's 100%. I think even how the Yi deck plays in general, right? You start with the little guys, eventually they'll come home or they won't survive, and they're going to be replaced by the big ones. Nox is hopeful, though, being able to come in here, and here's the Discipline to get it over the amount of might we need it for it to survive.
With the Discipline in hand, the odds of wanting to play that first mate definitely much lower. Way better to protect through this. Getting, Nox is hopeful for a Discipline, really big on this board. That was the best thing that Osvilito had going face up other than this Darius. Maybe that gets played here and has to jam in.
Yeah, and we have to find a way to, obviously play a second card. And, of course, we know that we still have that Cleave that we spotted earlier. But if the Defy comes through, unless you have a backup Cleave, what else are we going to do with the turn?
This is definitely the type of situation where if you're afraid of something like a Defy, you can just play a unit like this Daring Poro. Can't stop that when the Darius gets ready, gets to go into combat. If you have the Cleave, you still have your Darius available to you to play it whenever you need.
Yeah, even respecting the leftover might that the Discipline still gives the Pit Rookie for the turn. It was at 7, but instead now we have an On Guard coming from the other rune being paid here for Miko. But then there's a rebuttal. Now that Miko has tapped out, we have the ability to give Assault 3 to the Darius with the Cleave we already had.
Yeah, that's a really big turn. Now you have this Darius at this battlefield. You're putting pressure back on Miko. If there's not one of those big haste units, which we've talked about a bunch of times, big accelerate bodies, things that go in there, could be a lot of problems. And you get to hold this Grove of the Godwillow. A lot of pressure. If Miko, I expect, will feel forced to play one of those in here.
Yeah, and it's still in that sweet spot where Miko likes to sit, right, where it's still keep the 1 up. And we've had it every game, almost every turn, as much as we try to. There's the Dead Bloom coming down, and goodbye, Darius. So no hold trigger going to happen here, and now it's on the other side of the question where Osvilito has to deny that on the other side, now having to deal with an 8 might unit, 10 when in combat.
Yeah, I mean, we did use an On Guard last turn.
Yep.
Our odds of having something really good to use at the 1 are tighter, but we are hiding a card, which I'm going to assume is a Zanya's Hourglass. This is the most common hidden card from these Master Yi decks, and I assume Osvilito is going to know that's what it is.
Yeah, and so then I think the game plan that Osvilito needs to unlock is, well, how do I kill this Pit Rookie first?
Well, you can't force Miko to flip that use an Hourglass, right? So that's why it's hidden at the Dead Bloom Predator zone. But, go in, do some fighting, do some scoring over here. Miko does have a lot of points on Osvilito.
Yeah, a lot.
Can't just leave the Dead Bloom Predator Hourglass sitting there. You're going to have to kick it out at least once so you can try and win that points race. But then it's just going to be coming back in. So you need a backup plan for that. If you have a Hidden Blade, once that's good, you're going to need a second.
Yeah, that's where I immediately went, right? Was like, okay, well, what can we do for, removal? I also wonder, and I know we haven't seen it all game, and I know most Darius don't play it, but, this is, a prime opportunity where it's like, man, I really want, a Call of the Week.
I think we're going to see the namesake card here.
Ooh, there it is.
Old Baited Hook Darius. It hasn't shown up in any of the other games. And this is a game where we have the seal, but our board isn't the most impressive. We're only going to get a 3 might off of this, and that's not the biggest hits unless you hit a Draven.
Yeah, Draven, of course, has that 3 base might, and then is going to get the extra might based off of how many points we have. So we're going to find out real quick, and it looks like we did get it.
Thinking pretty hard. The only other card I would consider possibly taking here is a Vanguard Captain, giving you 2 more bodies and being something you can hook away itself. Because once you get this Draven in play, you really don't want to hook it. And if you're out of units, your hook might be sitting there a little while.
Yeah, if this recruit ends up dying in any capacity, we are out of units as we play them from hand and then immediately get rid of them using the beta hook. Or, we've got a Pouty Poro, so we have another backup unit to get rid of.
Osvilito empty-handed, though. No Tricks of the Grand Stratagem currently. No Hidden Blade. That Dead Bloom Predator looking tough to get through. Draven plus the Pro is only 8. That's not enough to get through the 10. Definitely going to need some pretty good hook hits or a nice top deck into some strategy.
I've never felt so vulnerable in Riftbound when my hand is empty. And obviously that's any card game, but
Riftbound is a game that is a lot about bluffing. you and your opponent both are taking these battlefields back and forth, and you really want to posture in such a way where they are afraid to try and catch up on that difference of serve that you've created by getting ahead. Oh, that is a tough thing for Osvilito there, that charm.
Yeah, I was going to say, if there was any way for Osvilito to stay into this game, it was finding and keeping that Draven alive for offensive pressure, but getting charmed up, functioning essentially as a removal spell. That is going to be the match going to Miko on Master Yi.
Master Yi doing it again. Powerful cards, big monsters, combat tricks. It's not fancy, but it sure does work.